Hillel, the great Pharisee. It was late afternoon. The low sun threw a long shadow of the temple across the altar and in the inner courtyard. In the far porch of Solomon to the east, from which one could look over the valley to the still, sunlit gardens of the Mount of Olives, the Pharisees were bringing to a close their endless arguments and discussions. The groups which had listened all day to learn from the various teachers how to carry out the sacred law to the most minute detail were thinning out. Many were still confused on certain points. Just what kind of knot might one tie on the Sabbath without committing a sin? And was it or was it not considered sinful to eat an egg which the hen had laid on the Sabbath day? But there was no time to hear more discussion about that now. The markets were also closing in the wider portio to the south. Crates of pigeons and doves for sacrifice, spices, incense, and jars of oil were put by for another day. The money changers were clearing their tables, and those who'd collected temple taxes were drawing the sure strings in their bags of jingling coins. On that late afternoon, a man with firm but unhurried step might have been still making his way toward the western portio and the outer gate, and a man of more than middle age, but one whose calm face and shining and alive eyes showed that he had found peace within himself. Over his turban hung a black and white prayer shawl, fringed about the edge and fastened to his forehead was a small black box, for he was a Pharisee and a rabbi, and one of the teachers of Israel, and one of the truly great ones. His name was Hillel. Passing the hall of hewn stone behind the temple where the Sanhedrin met, that court of which he was a member, Hillel crossed the viaduct which bridged the deep valley separating the Mount of the Temple and the Mount of Zion in the upper city. And there, on a stone step at the foot of the street, he saw a small boy waiting for him. At the sight of his grandfather, the little boy ran to meet him, eager to tell him how much of the Torah or law of Moses he had memorized that day, for he too was to become a rabbi. He was Gamaliel, the future teacher of the Apostle Paul. "Today I could recite more than any other boy in the synagogue," he began, then quickly stopped and corrected himself. I know, he said. "One should learn and love the Torah, but not wear his learning proudly like a crown." The rabbi nodded gently and then, bidding the child recite what he had learned, slipped the boy's small hand in his, and together the two of them, the man with his head bent to listen, and the small boy with his piping voice, climbing the crooked street, turning under an archway, mingling with the crowd, and disappeared. The next morning found Hillel again at the temple teaching a circle of eager pupils how to apply the ancient law of Moses to their modern life. One must study the Torah constantly, he told them, to learn the will of God. An ignorant man can never be truly righteous. "Do not say, 'I shall study when I have free time from other work,' because," he added with a smile, "that time will never come." Patiently he taught and answered the questions of his pupils until the sun was low and it was late afternoon again. Again, as he crossed the bridge over the valley to the west, the small grandson was waiting for him at the foot of the steps. A woodcutter with a bundle of faggots passed them on as, hand in hand, they started up the hill. Seeing him, the boy begged Hillel to tell again the story of his early life, when he too had been very poor and earning his living by cutting wood. So this time, as they turned the corner and passed out of sight, it was the man who was talking, while the small boy's head was turned up, eagerly to listen. According to stories or legends which are told of him, Hillel had been born in Babylon. Perhaps his ancestors had been among those ancient captives who, like the Romans of the later days, had chosen not to return after the exile. His older brother was a merchant and took care of young Hillel while he went to school in his native city. But as soon as he had learned about the Jewish schools in Babylon and what they could teach him, he set out for Jerusalem in order to study further. There, to earn his food and pay his teacher, he had been obliged to become a woodcutter. One winter day, he failed to earn the necessary fee to be admitted to the school. He could not bear to miss the lesson, so he climbed up on the flat top of the house and tried to listen through the window in the roof. It was snowing. He lay quiet, heeding only what was going on below, until suddenly he found he was covered with snow. His feet and legs were frozen. Fortunately, the teacher had seen his shadow from inside and rescued him. From then on, he had been allowed to attend school without pay. All the years of his life, Hillel had been studying the law of Moses, or the Torah, seeking to extract every kernel of truth to be found in it. But he had never confused trivial details with what was truly important, or placed the letter of the law above the spirit. One day a Roman, interested in the Roman religion of the Jews, which taught righteousness and justice, but puzzled by the endless number of laws and rules that it seemed necessary to observe, approached Hillel. "I am ready to accept your religion," he said, "provided that you can tell it to me simply and in a short time, let's say, as I can stand on one foot." Perhaps he expected to be turned away rudely, as he had been by Shemaiah, another prominent but less broad-minded rabbi of the day, whose studies had made him sharp and irritable and intolerant of all foreigners. If so, the Romans must have been surprised and converted, no doubt, by the answer he received. Simply and quietly, Hillel replied, "Our religion can be put into one sentence. What is hateful to thyself, do not unto thy neighbor." This is what the whole law, the rest is but explanation.